Good day, everyone. Today we're going to tackle the most influential theories in development, psychology, Jean Piaget's cognitive stages of development. So, Piaget believed that children are not passive recipients of information. Rather, they are active constructors of knowledge. So their understanding of the world evolves through a series of stages as they grow and interact with their environment. So, as future educators, understanding these stages help us align our instructional strategies with how our learners actually think and learn at different stages. So, before we go into the stages themselves, let's first understand the basic tenets that explain how children adapt to learning information. So, Piaget proposed that learning happens through two complementary processes. That is assimilation and accommodation. So, when we say assimilation, that happens when learners fit new information into what they already know. For example, imagine a child who knows what a dog is: four legs, furry, and barks. When they see a cat for the first time, they might call it dog because they're using their existing schema for animals with four legs. That's assimilation, fitting new experience into an old framework. On the other hand, accommodation that occurs when learners adjust their mental frameworks to include new information. So, continuing with our example, when child realizes that the cat meows instead of barks, they modify their understanding. Aha, not all four-legged furry animals are dogs. That's accommodation, no? Revising one's schema to fit new experiences. So, as educators, we must provide opportunities for both, no? By building on what learners already know, that is assimilation, and introducing experiences that challenge their thinking, and that's accommodation. Now that we have learned how assimilation and accommodation influence learning, let's see what kind of thinking develops through Piaget's four cognitive stages. First, we have here, no, of course, Piaget identified four major stages of cognitive development. First, we have here sensory motor stage, that is 0 to 2 years of age. Now, in here, infants learn through their senses and actions from the word sensory motor. It involved the senses as well as the psychomotor of no, a young of an infant, no, not a young child, a newborn. When we say pre-operational stage, that is 2 to 7 years old. In here, children begin to use symbols and language. So later, you'll explore what are the skills focused on these stages. Take note, in the pre-operational stage, it is toddler years. They use symbols and language, meaning they do not really see the world literally as it is, even viewing objects. They use it as symbols to communicate. When we say symbols, for example, with their cognitive processes, they can turn a stone into a friend. No, they can converse non-living objects, no, because they will not treat them concretely as it is or literally as it is. It's the symbolic, no, symbolic play during this stage is evident. So later we're going to explore what do we mean by symbolic play. Then third stage we have here concrete operational stage, that's 7 to 11 years old. It is during school age years, no, in which logical thinking develops, but only for tangible objects. So when we say tangible, it is something observable, something that can be seen, something that can be touched, something that can be sensed na by our with different senses of our body. It is during elementary years. That's why if you are a BEd student, we need to take into consideration their cognitive processes, concrete operational stage. That's why in elementary years, teachers really provide no, visual aids whenever they present ideas, whenever they discuss something, because elementary or greater students, they cannot still think during this time no, abstractly, meaning it's difficult for them to understand something that they cannot see because they are on the concrete operational stage, no, they interact with the world, no, with what is tangible. But as we progressed in the formal operational stage, that's the fourth stage, 12 years and up, that is during the junior high school up to no, when we become adults. It is where abstract and hypothetical reasoning emerges. So, junior high school still, no, because they are in transition with concrete operational stage, visual aids are still very important now in discussing lessons with students. However, during junior high school, especially progressing to senior high school, students are not capable of understanding abstract concepts. So that's why we will be asking them already to create something. Like, for example, they can elaborate already their ideas na, through essays. And ideas or concepts that will be tackled during this stage no, are more complex. No, it's more hypothetical because during this stage no, students are able to already understand the implications no, on a certain action or even with situations. So as we proceed no, we have here the sensory motor stage, in which in this stage no, there are important skills that our students no, know that when you see sensory stage is 0 to 2 years old, no, newborn infants. It is during this stage that no, babies learn by doing, by touching, tasting, and moving. So two important skills is first we have here object permanence. So understanding during this stage no, with its skill, it is the capacity to understand that things continue to exist even when out of sight. Example, when you play peekaboo with a baby, they laugh no? Because they are learning that you don't actually disappear. No? As teachers of early childhood learners, this concept no, will help us design activities like hide and seek or object search games no, to stimulate memory and awareness. Then we have here motor coordination. So developing control over movements like reaching, grasping, crawling, and walking. So that's why it's very important now that manipulative toys will be provided, such as blocks or soft balls, na encourage um, these babies to develop their fine and gross motor skills, forming the very foundation in the exploration of how they can learn interacting with the environment. Then we have here as children gain control, awareness, their imagination starts to flourish. Let's move on with the pre-operational stage. We have here no, children, no, toddlers, they begin to represent the world through symbols, no words and images. So their thinking during this stage becomes more imaginative, yet still limited by egocentrism. So when we say no later, we'll discuss what egocentrism is. When we say symbolic thinking, they take note it is 2 to 7 years old, not the pre-operational stage. When we say symbolic thinking, it is using symbols like words or drawings to represent real things. Example, when a child uses a stick as a magic wand or calls a box a car, they are demonstrating symbolic thought that is very crucial for reading and writing. So in symbolic thinking, no, toddlers here no, makes use of their creative imagination in interacting with their environment. Egocentrism, no, that is the difficulty in seeing things from another perspective. That is no, um, the manifestation for toddlers to be self-centered, to be selfish, no, that does not mean that they are not good. It's such that it is their natural tendency to be focusing more on themselves, what they need and what they want. Example, a preschooler might assume that no, they might assume, I mean, a preschooler might assume that since they like cartoons, everyone else does too. Teachers can address this by encouraging group play, helping children learn to take turns and to understand others' feelings. So that's why during toddler years, in nursery, preschool, one of the skills that is being developed is not just more on the ability to write but also socialization, because during this stage, in the pre-operational stage, according to John Piaget, because they are so egocentric, they find it challenging to compromise. That's why it needs supervision, uh, supervised play, during nursery and kindergarten, because they have the tendency to be in conflict, with their classmates and playmates, because they tend to grab toys any time they want, when they want something. They do not have that understanding that they cannot just get it because they want it, because being egocentric, what they understand most is what they want during that time, and they want to satisfy what they want and what they need. They have the they have no capacity yet, as to understanding the needs of others. That's why group play, group activities are very important during this stage for them to learn the skill, to be sensitive, and to understand that aside from their existence, others also exist and they also have their own wants and needs. Then we have role playing. No, it is engaging in pretend play and assuming different roles. Example, dramatic play, no? Corners in preschool classrooms, such as mini market or hospital set up, no? Foster social interaction and creativity. So that's why if you notice, no? Toddlers playing, they are in character. No, they always like no to assume certain roles, being a doctor, being a nurse, being a mommy, being a baby, and um, with role playing, they are able to practice no socialization as well. That's why no when we talk to toddlers. We can use play no, to interact with them, assuming different roles. So as children moved into middle childhood, another thinking becomes more logical and less magical. So let's look into know how concrete operational stage works. So during this stage, the children take note 7 to 11 years old, elementary years, they start to think logically, but not no but only about concrete, tangible things. As I've said, when I say tangible, it is something that can be observed, something that can be seen, something that can be manipulated. No? Because they still have the difficulty to appreciate no? Something that they cannot observe. So example, a grade 2 student realizing, for example, we have here the first concept, not conservation. By the way, before proceeding with conservation, during concrete operational stage, no, their mental operations, no, they can compare, they can organize, and they can classify objects. Because when we compare and when we organize and classify objects, no, it is something that are observable, no, something that they can analyze by what they see, no, what they observe. So, with the concept no, of conservation as one of the important skills during concrete operational stage, it is about understanding that quantity remains the same despite changes in shape or appearance. Example, na, a grade 2 student realizes that pouring water into a tall, thin glass doesn't mean there's more water. No? It's the same amount. Example, if I am a teacher, no? If I want to look at no, how many of my grade 3 students have mastered the skill of conservation, I might have this demonstration. No? I'll be telling my students, class, I have here two pitchers of water. Pitcher A is short no, and wide. Pitcher B is tall and thin. Now, I will pour both of the pitchers with the same amount of water. And I'll be asking my student, which of the pitcher do you think no, has more water? If students will answer, Ma'am, I think it's pitcher B because the pitcher no, is full of water while pitcher A is only half filled with half of water, then they have not yet mastered conservation. Because despite the fact that I have informed them that the same amount of water was poured into both of the pitchers, it's such that they have different size and shape, they are misled by its appearance, na that because it's full, it has more amount of water. Okay, but if they will say, Mom, it's the same amount of water, it's such that it has different Size and shape, the pictures have different size and shape, but because you pour the same amount of water, the quantity of water does not change. Then that is conservation. Same goes, no, when if you recall when you were no in the elementary years, if you do not want your 20 peso bill, papel nga 20, if you do not want your 20 peso bill given by your parents because you insist to have the 20 pieces peso coin, because you think that 20 pieces peso coin no is more of value than the 20 peso bill, because daghan ang 20 ka buok nga piso comparing with a 20 peso bill, papel nga 20, then you have not yet mastered conservation. No? Because you believe that the quantity, no, the amount, the worth of the money changes just because of no, there is the difference in terms of the quantity of the coins and the peso bill. But when you say it's okay whether I'll get a 20 peso bill, or either no, you can have the 20 pieces peso coin because it's of the same amount anyway, then that is conservation. Then we have here the scale of classification. So it's the ability to group objects based on common features. Example in science lessons, when learners can sort leaves in terms of their size or color, or animals by type, that is building analytical thinking. That's more of the activities in mathematics, in science, or even in the different subjects during elementary years. It's more on classification. No, even in group activities, arrange yourselves according to your height, no, or even according to your age. That is classification, no, with the concept of sorting, no, based on colors, no, size, or even height or weight. Then we have here seriation, no? Arranging items in order, such as from smallest to largest, or earliest to latest. So by the way, what was the difference between classification and seriation? Okay. um, when we say classification, because based on my example earlier, no, when they are to arrange themselves according to their height, that is seriation. But when you ask your students to arrange something based on color, based on its size, no, or animal type, that's classification. So when we say classification, it's more on common features, no, organizing objects or things no, based on its common features. But when we say seriation, no, it is arranging items in logical order, such as no, from smallest to largest. So in seriation example, when children line up no, according to height or order of events in a story, now they are practicing seriation. It's an essential skill na for mathematics na and sequencing. So in seriation, from the word series, na, there is a concept of sequence. No? Like in English, for example, there are given events, and when you ask students to arrange those events in chronological order, no, for example, brushing the teeth, going to school, taking a bath. So those events, no, you may provide 10 routines, no daily routines. If you ask your students to arrange those daily routines in order, no, that are commonly experienced, no, by many, then that is seriation, because it's more on arranging events, no, based on with its chronological, no, occurrence. But when we say classification, it's more of its um, common features. Okay, then as learners, no, during um, when they are transitioning concrete operational stage, that's 7 to 11 years old, as they transition to formal operational stage, that's more on reaching adolescence, no, that's thinking takes a major leap from concrete to abstract. Okay, so at this stage, learners develop, no, the ability to think abstractly. That is to reason, no, that is to reason out logically, and plan systematically for the future. So when we say abstract reasoning, it's the capacity to deal with ideas, no, beyond the here and now. Example, students can discuss concepts like justice, freedom, or honesty, not even without direct examples. When we say hypothetical reasoning, that's thinking logically about what if scenarios. No? That's why thinking about, no, its implications. No? Example, in science, adolescents, no, can hypothesize outcomes. What would happen if we increase the temperature in this experiment? Or what if you are in the shoe of this person? What would you do? Those are um, reflection questions that can be given or prompted to high school or senior high school students, no? Because they are already capable to think beyond of what just they can see and observe. They can elaborate, no, their ideas based on their own experiences, no? When we say metacognition, that is thinking about one's own thinking. Example here, a high schooler reflects on which study strategy works best for them. That's what metacognitive awareness. No, it's very vital for lifelong learning. Example also, if you are part of the organizing committee, no, facilitating a certain event. After the conduct of the event, no, there is a post evaluation when you say what went right or what went wrong. What have we done that make the event, no, successful? Or could what are the things that we could have done to make it more less hassle for participants, or to make it more efficient or effective for the participants. So that is about, no, coming into reflection, no, looking at what you think and reflect on what you think. Okay, so as future educators, understanding Piaget's stages now will enable us to design our instructional materials, even our teaching strategies, no, that would meet, no, our learners' capacity in terms of reasoning, no, especially, no, guiding them as they transition from concrete to abstract thinking, because as BE Ed students or BS Ed students, you will be dealing learners, no, in these stages, no, concrete, operational, no, stage and formal operational stage. But for ECE or early childhood students, they are more dealing with students who are in their pre operational stage and concrete operational stage. Okay, so to wrap up, no, remember that our role as teachers is not just to deliver knowledge but also to facilitate cognitive growth. So each stage, no, will give us a hint or a clue on how students make sense of the world, no? From playing peekaboo to solving algebraic equations. So when we are able to match our teaching strategies to these developmental stages, learning becomes more meaningful, no? Enjoyable and lasting. So these um, are very important for us teachers, no, to appreciate because um, it will get rid of that, no, false assumption, no, to treat these learners, no, with a one size fits all mentality. Okay, so that's it for this topic, and you can always, of course, no, source out other reference materials, no, if you want to explore more examples, and if there are still no confusions on a certain concept, no, feel free to read other reference materials or even to raise a question, no, in our group chat to clear whatever that gray areas you may have, no, while listening to this recorded lecture.